And everyone, welcome to the handicap on a Thursday night. As you can see, we've got Brent Graham with me at the moment. We're waiting for our esteemed guests to still appear, but Brent will be with us in the comments and putting these opinions in with us. But yeah, we just thought we'll start the show, the two of us. Obviously, there's no needs for introductions. We know how Brent is. How you doing, man?
No, very good, very good. I just watched a very entertaining to talk a bit of Oracle at the start of the show. Watched an entertaining cricket match between England and
Yeah,
India now.
that was crazy.
India setting a massive target and England almost chasing it down. And of course, bad news for South Africans yesterday. We got absolutely hammered by the Black Caps. One of those things that happens sometimes in T20. So looking for some rugby to pull me out of trouble. And as I mentioned to you, I'm not in the greatest of form. So I'm really looking forward to listening to the show and hearing what yourself and obviously the Moss man who's coming in and Admiral have got to say. I know the Admiral is running a few minutes late. But yeah, some good stuff for you to talk tonight, Chris. I see Shane is. I'm just going to pop up this comment quickly because I'll be in the back end listening and managing the comments. He sent some tweets about half an hour ago on X on the historical data. So Shane, I'll have a look and see what I can find there. But also you can also post it in the live chat. And how are you doing otherwise, man?
Yeah, no, all good. This is just said. Last time I spoke to you guys, I was in the Isle of Man, and now I'm back in Surrey in England. Started a new job there in London now, still in the iGaming industry. So yeah, it's been a good first few weeks settling back in, and yeah, enjoying it. Obviously, hoping to get to some rugby later in the year for sure. Going to get down to Twickers for some rugby, so should be good.
So I just see Chris, and I know I've set you up as like a co-host. But Nathan is coming in and he's pulling an oracle on us. Finn Allen. I mean, why would he possibly be talking about Finn Allen? Could that be the man who played one of the greatest one-day international knocks of all time, Nathan? How's it, mate?
Good, thanks. Yeah, it was more for Oracle's benefit. Like, I know that's one of his tricks, so I was hoping he'd spot it.
I enjoyed it. I must admit, I started laughing when Chris was talking, and I saw you come in, and I saw Finn Allen. I started laughing when I saw that. But
like,
I'm actually going to excuse
full
myself.
disclosure,
So Chris host the show tonight.
Oh, sorry, carry on.
No, I'm going to excuse myself. I'll manage the comments. I'm going to listen in. Chris is going to host the show. Admiral is coming in. He has said he'll be a few minutes late, but I'll leave you boys to it. And Chris, looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Brent. See you soon, man.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I'm 100% being a bandwagon jumper here because I hadn't really watched a minute of the T20 World Cup until this game. So it's like, all of a sudden claiming that I'm such a big fan. The only thing I'd seen, actually, I watched highlights of the Australia-Zimbabwe game, just the shits and giggles, really.
but you had to milk it. I don't think this is the first time that you guys have done that job on us in the semi-finals, I'm sure. And I must admit, I had no thought on earth that we were going to even win tomorrow because I'm just so used to us flying through the group stages and semi-final, just absolutely no shame. And you not only beat us, you hammered us. So,
it's crazy. I'm sure someone must have a stat out there about how many of these semi-finals South Africa have reached in cricket. It's crazy. To have not made a final out of all of those attempts.
It must be. I mean, it's definitely like at an 80% strike rate. I'm sure. Like I think we only got through we got through the last final right against India, and we were doing pretty well in that final until we blew that as well. So yeah, terrible. Anyway, how are you doing, man? It's been a few months. How's life? How's the youngster? How's everything going?
Yeah. Everything at home is ticking along pretty well. So yeah, I would have talked about this previously, but I'd put some of the competitions that I was betting on the back burner, just in the interest of kind of time. And then I've basically just been fully focused kind of for the last month just on Super Rugby and Six Nations. And I think that move has been a good one.
Well, absolutely. So, I mean, I was, as I said, I've been busy. I took a bit of a break, but Super Rugby and Six Nations is my best tournaments, I think, is Prem. So I was like, as soon as I came back on, that bug came back hard, and so getting back into it, and at least we don't have to faffle through some URC this weekend, eh? And just focus on our strengths. But we can, we can start we wait for the Admiral. We can start on Super Rugby. I think I was going to start on the Six Nations, but let's start on the Super Rugby. Let's start Chiefs first thing up tomorrow morning. obviously, if you want to call it a shock result last week, it obviously was. It was one much bigger result, bigger win that you could have thought it would have been. And obviously, Pacifica, after a goodish start, they haven't been great. It's quite a high handicap. What are your thoughts here? It looks like a massive Chiefs bounce back spot, but I also think Pacifica might even show up as well. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not a handicap that I think I'll be touching. And what this all really revolves around is whether you think that Moana have completely regressed from the team that they kind of became under Artie. And the Admiral did talk about this. Like I remember him saying, and I 100% agree, that like you'd never seen a forward sort of be able to transform a team. One player, especially as a forward. And it was true. Like I think. I in my mind in the past at Super Rugby level, like I'd always thought that like peak Richie Mo'unga was probably worth 6 to 7 points difference from his backup. So that was the replacement level kind of difference in the line. Artie's probably the same. And the question here is whether they have gone back to the team that they were before he arrived, in which case minus 32.5 seems pretty plausible. But that they did talk about how he'd sort of brought the club forward, like in terms of their professionalism and all these other things. So it could be that they've just got off to a bad start. Well, I say a bad start. I mean, they did win in Fiji and look pretty good in doing that. So this one could easily go either way. It could be a 60-point hiding, or they could actually come to the party. And the truth is, I actually don't know. So I'm going to stay away from the handicap on this one. If I was going to go anywhere, and I haven't decided whether I will, it would be going under on some of these big points lines. So I've gone under on some of the bigger ones this season. I was under on the Moana game last week, under on the Moana game when they played against the Hurricanes. And it wasn't that, these games didn't turn out to be kind of reasonably high scoring games, but you just couldn't make that number because it's just so big. So, anything when you get up towards 70 points, it's just, and we've talked about this on the show before, everything kind of has to go right. You can't have 10 minutes where it goes quiet. You can't have a bombed try, on the line.
3 missed conversions.
You just can't have those things happen. Everything kind of has to go right. And it's not that they can't go right, but this game could finish 60-0 and you've missed the points line, despite the actual game script kind of playing out probably how you thought it would.
Yeah, I see Brent's made a comment that if you'd noticed the line was open at minus 22. So obviously the money has come for the Chiefs, which I could understand, because like you said, this could easily be a blowout. This could easily be a 50 points Chiefs win for sure. But I wonder if the game is loose, Pacifica could contribute. But I agree with you, that points line is extremely high. And when you get to 7, even me, as you know, I love my overs. Even that's a bit high for me. I don't generally like to go over 65 if I can. I mean, unless it's really special conditions. So I agree with you on the unders there. And saying that, how's it, Admiral? Welcome to the show. You made it. Happy to see you. How you doing, mate?
Sorry, I'm late. Not bad. Yeah, sorry. It was the course now. It was the time the laptop has to crash. It told me it was diagnosing my PC, which is not a message I've seen before. But hopefully we should make it through this.
Is it going to survive?
Yeah. Hi, Brent. I have to get a cut. I'm on placement next week actually, so I'm not going to be rocking up like this.
No worries. Well, you just in the nick of time, because you have started on Super Rugby. We were going to do Six Nations. Nathan's just given us his preview. As you can see, the line's at 32. It opened at 22. So, of course, money's come for the Chiefs. And the points line is quite a high one there, which Nathan was commenting. I also think that's probably a tad high. But what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I'll start on the points. I mean, just any time you get a line above, even above 60, but especially when you start getting towards 70, I might be repeating what Nathan said here, but you can't really have 10 minutes without a try. Yeah, I had a feeling.
Always word for word. This is great.
But yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think we've mentioned it a few times, but the Chiefs will score points. I don't think we need to worry about that. But with 67, I mean, my mental maths isn't great, but what happened to Moana's points line there is, what would it be, about 17 or something? I don't know. That's 3 tries. But I'm not sure there's going to be too many penalties in this game. I think they'll be struggling to get that, and even the Chiefs points will be 50. So yeah, unders I did like there. The cap, I don't know. 22 was. I mean, I actually I wasn't really able to look at the caps on Monday. Whoever got 22, fair play. Because yeah, I would be surprised to not cover that with Radama and Mackenzie back. Yeah, I think 32 is getting a little bit high for me. So I'm going to leave the cap, but I think, and to be honest, I've mentioned before, I know, Chris, you're a fan of sort of the doubles and the trebles. I'm beginning to sort of get stuck into them.
Good man.
You can take an under 70, 75 here or something, and then like you really are like a point a minute essentially is not impossible. Because I think last time these two teams played, it did cover, but it is incredibly difficult for a points line of near 80 to cover. So yeah, the unders here is the play for me.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel like a good spot for the Chiefs. For the Pacifica, yeah, does it? It just feels like Chiefs have to bounce back. But I like the bounce back spots against weak teams, especially Chiefs at home. To be honest, I haven't seen the weather. To be honest, I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. I don't know if it's going to be. Is it good? Yeah. Yeah, so I would also be leaning on the minus here, actually, to be honest, because I can see like a 54-10 type of scoreline, but I have nothing strong as well. It's high lines, yeah, and we know that's very difficult to go head first into big lines like this. Yeah, let's move on to the next one, the Tars and the Canes. So yeah, interesting one. Obviously, the Canes were extremely disappointing last week. Surely that's not a good sign for the Tars this week. What do you guys think? We'll start off with you, Admiral. What have you got here so far?
Yeah, I don't know how much we've learned about the Hurricanes. Like this is week 4. Week 1, they obviously didn't play. Week 2, they were good, but like, I mean, how much do you learn from a home smashing of the Moana second team? And then they lost last week, and that's not. But like Lataka is almost anything can happen there. To be honest, you could put the 2015 All Blacks there, and they might lose them. You never. It's just a weird place. So I don't know how much we know about the Hurricanes so far. The Waratahs, I think we do know a bit about it. And it's not they're not bad. They're like week 1, they gave the Reds they gave them a good beating, to be honest. And then week 2, at home against the Drua, I don't know. Listen, they covered, but that's one of those games I don't think you learn a huge amount about. The thing that I do find interesting here, and I have mentioned it before, is the trend of when teams come back from Fiji, the game after that, so over the 3 or 4 years they've been in the league now, the Drua, when a team goes to play in Fiji, the game they come back, they have a combined record of 7-21, which is kind of it's been going on for a while now, and it's kind of a noticeable trend. So what I'm getting at here is I do like the Waratahs. I think that I thought pretty impressive so far. I like their pack. They haven't made too many changes as far as I know. Your man Halaholo, who I think he's new this season. I thought he was really good the first 2 weeks, but he's out. Kellaway's back in from last week, and then from the Hurricanes, I have the changes here. Duplessis Carriffy's in for his first game of the season, and he's obviously a very good player. But I think I kind of like the Waratahs and what we saw for the first 2 weeks. They've had the week off. They've had the week off. They're playing against a team who, I mean, I know it's a bounce back spot, but it's a bounce back spot after coming back from Lautaka, and I think there's a reason why that trend exists. I'm going to be not bullish, but I like the Tars to win here.
Nice to see. Brent's also got the Tars. He's on the Aussie bandwagon. But Nathan, you might be surprised to hear this, but I love the over 54. Yeah, what are you thinking here?
I like the other side actually. So I like the Canes. I think bounce back spots. I mean that's kind of an obvious one. Wouldn't put too much stock in that necessarily, but I do think it's interesting because when you Admiral started talking about how much we know about teams, I was thinking exactly that about the Waratahs. Like I kind of feel like they caught the Reds cold a little bit in week 1. Like I think if they played this week, like I think things would be very different. Like I think the Reds have kind of got some cattle back. So I didn't necessarily read too much into that performance. At home against a Drua, it's kind of like, yeah, all right. They were always going to win that one. That was kind of just sort of ticking a box. So then got a similar situation where they had their bye. So then how much do we really know about them? You take too much away from week one. I had them kind of tagged at the start of the season as the Aussie team that, in my mind, had kind of lost the most or the more important kind of players. Like they just seemed down, like in the forwards perhaps from where they were, and they wasn't like they were a team that needed to regress very far to be bad, because that's kind of part of their MO anyway. So I just feel like the Waratahs they absolutely have maybe 1 or 2 games in them per season where they can knock over a New Zealand team that they shouldn't, like they beat the Chiefs last year at home, for example. But then the rest of the time they will disappoint. That's just, it's kind of been in their DNA for years. And so you just got to kind of decide which game is this. Is it the one where they kind of man up, or is it the one where they disappoint? And I just feel like that this is a game that the Hurricanes can't afford to lose, and then they'll both teams will be max motivated. It's not about that, but I just think the Hurricanes are the better team, and in a tight handicap like this, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm with the Canes here as well, but also like in the points, I think it's not wet in Sydney on tomorrow night. I think it's on Saturday. There's a big storm coming through, but yeah, I think this is a spot I also agree when I've seen when Canes have done poorly and they've gone to Australia against the Reds and Brumbies. I've just known historically they come back strong, and they actually wouldn't quite comfortably. I actually think this is going to be more than a score win possibly for the Canes. Let's move. I'll stay with you, Mossman. A high-enders force. We've got a 10-point cap here. What are you thinking? Yeah, have you put any money down yet? What's your thoughts?
I haven't. No, I think the Highlanders will be a very popular pick this week, and that is why I'm going to wait and see, because I think it's already edging towards 10 in places. Who knows, that might get to kind of 11 closer to kickoff, and I would like the force quite a lot at that number. I think that there's the force are not bad. Like they kind of put up a bit of a dud second half against the Brumbies in week 1, but other than that, they've been really competitive. They are what they are in terms of being a structured team, quite an organised team. They can play okay. I mentioned in previous weeks that they just don't have the finishes, like the kind of the star power out wide. But that's enough to hang in with average teams, and the Highlanders are, in my mind, are still just like an average team. They've got good players, but they're nothing special. And a 10-point handicap, or 11 if you can get it, hopefully, is a lot for 2 average teams basically playing each other.
Yeah, I agree. This is not a great one for my eye. Admiral, what are you thinking? Are you still bullish on your force like you were on the first week, or what's your thinking on them these days, eh?
No, I have. If you watch back, whatever I said week 1 about Super Rugby, I think it was all wrong. Which has been I was like giving that shit about the Brumbies. I mean, that hasn't aged very well. This, I don't know. It is. I think we've got two fairly. Yeah. I'm going to repeat a lot of here. 2 average teams. I think 2 average teams who are kind of better without the ball. And that, to me, I know Brent put the overs up there. That's his unders to me. The force have always been an unders team. The Highlanders, like that game against the Chiefs, they look fairly useless with the ball, and it kind of seems like Kantavitavanawe can do something ridiculous, or Kentangi Tau, the try he scored at the end. They're essentially relying on a few players to pull out a bit of magic. I know they've got Fakatava back at 9 this week. He's good, but yeah, it's not a particularly good back line, I don't think. The force as well. The force will be they will be fairly happy to sort of dig in with this game. I think it'll be a messy all game. The one thing I did see, I almost couldn't believe it last week when the force beat when they beat Moana. I heard at the end that was their first win in New Zealand since 2012 or something. They haven't even been around for that long, have they? They're not that old of a team.
Was it 2012 or 2021?
Okay, that makes more sense.
Not 2012, I think. Yeah.
Okay, I misheard. I was like, I couldn't believe it. I must. Yeah. Okay. Early in the morning, I've lost it. But yeah, The cap, yeah, if it does get up to, I'd say I'd need 12 to be honest to sort of get involved, get well behind the force. But I think this will be a pretty tough watch to be honest. I'm going to be on the unders here.
Yeah, these are two teams that have broken my heart many times. So I'm going to be probably not staying away from this one if I put it that way. But I mean, I think Highlanders at home should do the job. But I can't predict how this game is going to go. I'll go back. I'll give you the first dibs here, Admiral. This game, Blues Crusaders. The question is, are the Crusaders back, baby? Is this them? They're showing their true colors again, or are the Blues going to upset them? Well, not upset them. They're the favorites, but I mean, should they be favorites?
I think I know who you're on here. Yeah, we were speaking about this game for a bit last week because Nathan mentioned in that poly market thing that the Crusaders are favourite. Now, at the time, I came out and said it should be Blues -8. Not anymore. I sort of thought the Crusaders were in for sort of I mentioned it of a Blues of last season and the Crusaders the season before that, where the champions just played like duds for the whole regular season. They were unbelievable last. I mean, that game just in general. I often think when rugby is desperate to sort of get as much sort of ball and play time, as many points as possible, I often think sort of 80-point games aren't particularly interesting. It's just sort of bad defense and everyone's knackered. That Chiefs Crusaders game last week was brilliant. They were two really good teams playing really good rugby. And the Crusaders deserved it. Jesus, they were brilliant. But I don't know if they're back still. Like those first two games, they were so bad, I thought. They're quite reliant on sort of I don't know if you call it efficiency or sort of chance. They put those stats up, during the games of possession and territory. It was sort of in the second half. We were fairly deep in the second half, and the Chiefs had something like 60 or 70% possession. Territory. The Crusaders they seem really reliant on sort of loose ball, and they're really dangerous in open field. And I think there's two things that count against them this week for that. One is the Blues, and the Blues know how to turn a game into a dogfight. And I don't think the Crusaders' phase play has been particularly good the first 3 weeks. And I think the Blues will know that, and they will be able to control the game. And the other one is Will Jordan. I wouldn't normally be too bothered about back three players, but it's him and it's Biabieri. Or that's kind of it, to be honest, for me. For those two, like, there's certain positions where nobody else in the world can pull something out of the hat, and it's only those two. He was unbelievable. He was heavily involved in a good few of those Crusaders tries, and they were tries from nothing, a lot of them. So I still like the Blues. I said -8 last Sunday. I wouldn't have it as that now, but I still like the Blues. Not as strong. I had it as -3 earlier on in the week, so I'm going to be on the Blues. Nothing on the points lined up for me.
No, to be honest, man, I actually don't have a strong feel on this game. I think it's pretty much a coin flip for me, so I don't have a strong view. I'm looking at those points if it's good weather, but like you said, I think I've been on overs on this game a few times, been burned because the Blues can put into a dogfight, a scrap, and it's cost me the overs before, so I'm not going to be punting the overs, even though I do like that number. But Nathan, what have you got for us? Have they got the right favourites here?
I think they do. Yeah. And I mean, and as Admiral mentioned, like we were chatting about this in a WhatsApp group because on Polymarket, you have these kind of look ahead games where they're posting up games, weeks in advance. And when I was cycling through and I saw that the Crusaders were favourites the week before last, it just didn't feel right to me. And admittedly, like, that was before last week's games, but even despite that, I just think that one of the things I think about actually was in that first week against the Brumbies, in terms of the players that didn't start for the Crusaders, it was Tamaiti Williams and Will Jordan, and here they are not playing in this game. That to me is kind of a bit of an alarm bell for the Crusaders. Like, I'm not sure that, I think it's a bigger chunk out of their team than it might probably appear on the surface. So I think that's a big minus for them. So in my mind, the Blues are rightly favourites. I think you can still probably shop around and actually get them as an underdog here, because I think I'm seeing a variety of different places off the board. I literally watched it tick over from underdog to favourite in one spot last night, and there were still favourites across the board everywhere else. And that's so whether that's changed as of this morning, I can still find at least one out where you could get them as an underdog, and I really like them as over the Blues at an underdog price.
Yeah, this is a classic for one of my alt trebles or doubles for on the Blues plus, giving them some points there. Because I also think even if the Crusaders do win, it will be close. I don't think Crusaders pull away at all. All right, on to our last one, Brumbies versus Reds. Also one of the games I really enjoy watching over Super Rugby seasons. These two top Australian sides give it all they got, and just personally from the 1 to 12 in this fixture has served me well over the years. I don't have my stat, I don't remember the exact record, but Reds at home 1 to 12 in this fixture, Brumbies 1 to 12 has served me really well. I think this is a pretty good cap. I'll start with you, Nathan. What's you thinking in this game?
This opened 9.5, so it's moved miles, and it hasn't done it on team news. Really, like there hasn't been anything unexpected, I think, that's come out. This is just a perception thing. So it's interesting to me because my numbers favour the Brumbies, and the more this ticks in, the more interested I get. In my mind, when it was 9.5 and then it was 7.5, I was like, I'm actually staying off this one because numbers favour the Brumbies, but I didn't have huge confidence in that. Like I feel that maybe the Reds are in a good place. I felt coming into the season that they were the team from Australia that had retained the most players and was probably best positioned to kind of go on a run here. But the more it comes in, the more kind of I think people are dismissing how good the Brumbies have been at this season, and that almost feels a little bit disrespectful to them in a way. They're still at home with a 3-0 record and some really signature wins. I'm not sure what more they could have done this year to convince people that they're good.
I didn't even know that it was open, and I'm actually a bit in shock. I'm actually still like recovering from what you just said to me, because that does where's that justification? If this was 7, I probably could even be taken, like you said. I would have had this at 7 probably with current form, but so I'm in shock. If it wasn't team news, I'm super surprised, because I still think the Brumbies will cover. I think Brumbies will at -4. I still think Brumbies are covering.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. So as I said, like at the moment, I'm not involved. I wasn't intending to be, but the lower this gets, the more interested I get in that minus.
Yeah. All right, Admiral, have you made a bet yet? Got stuck into this one yet? What's your thoughts?
Not yet. Yeah, I had this at 9.
The
last time I was on here, I was sort of shitting on the Brumbies. But like as I said already, they have been brilliant. The team, I have the team. I think a lot of people jumped at the Valentini that he's gone, and that's obviously important. Like he is brilliant. To Liam, who's come in, he's no Valentini, but he's a very good player. And like the Brumbies back row anyway is really, really solid. Charlie Cale and Rory Scott. Charlie Cale in particular is a monster. And with the Reds, it's almost like people are sort of just. I don't know if it's the sort of they don't want to sort of acknowledge it. By Sammy is not on the team, and he is like, if you're talking about importance, is who's more important for their team, Valentini or for the Brumbies, or Paisami for the Reds? Probably Valentini, but I don't think there's that much of a difference. And then if you add in Matt Fessler's out, who's they got? Yeah, Josh Nasher is starting. That's an international, a pretty solid international player for non-international. I mean, the Reds, like, they had a bye week in week 2, didn't they? They didn't play. So they got arse handed to them by the Waratahs week off, and then beat the Landers well. But it was the Landers, like, I'm going through when I'm looking at the Landers changes for this week, like Tava's back in, Lasaka, Hay, Brott, and Fakata. Like they had 5 or 6 sort of important players either rested or injured, the Landers, and so the Reds put them away. Fair enough, but the Brumbies have beaten. I mean, two of the 3 title favourites. Let's be honest. I mean, the Brumbies are now also a title favourite, but they've beaten 2 of them. They smashed one of them, and then week 1. I mean, yeah, we were saying the Force they're not great, but like they're decent at home, and they ripped them apart. I don't know who was betting on who was taking like Reds +5. I don't really understand, to be honest. So listen, considering how Super Rugby's gone for me so far, I shouldn't be so cocky. But yeah, I'm on the Brumbies here, and this is probably my favorite of the Super Rugby handicap so far. Or so far, this is my favorite.
Yeah, fair. I would agree. Also, one of my favorites as well. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of Super Rugby. Sorry,
have you seen, Nathan, the Poly Market? I see the Reds are playing the Taz next week. It's in Queensland. Do you know, would that be out yet? I'd sort of be interested to see where that would be and how that's going to change, because it will obviously change based on how those two go during this weekend.
Yeah, it's definitely up. What happens is that some games have I call like real prices on them, and some Brumbies against Reds, and some just have like Brumbies against the Reds. That's this weekend.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. We're Reds against the Waratahs.
The Reds against the Waratahs. Reds Waratahs, yeah. So what happens is that because it's still quite far out, there hasn't been some of it, like they don't kind of posting real prices, like or if they do, that it kind of gets snapped up, so it's kind of hard to tell. But like I can see that it's basically like 46% Reds and 45% Waratahs. So the way that this has been kind of priced up at the moment, or is trading, it's kind of a coin flip.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're interested because you think Waratahs should be favourites, or?
At the moment, yeah. I mean, there's 160 minutes of rugby to be played between the two of them, but I think the Waratahs are maybe a little bit disrespected.
Yeah, it's one to keep an eye on. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that's the end of Super Rugby. Obviously, moving on to the business end of Six Nations. What a tournament it's been. Loads of pluses I know I've covered. I think Wales, France have covered the minus, but the pluses have been the ones to go on late on the previous games. But we've got Ireland and Wales tomorrow. We're going to start with you on the Irish theme, Admiral. Are Ireland back, baby, or what? What's going on? What do you think? Yeah, minus 26. What's going on here?
Yeah, they're not. They mightn't be back, but you don't even have to be from this part of the world. I think everybody enjoys winning in Twickenham, and everyone particularly enjoys scoring 40 points in Twickenham. I was planning on maybe taking Ireland 2 weeks ago, but then I said, like, I do have a shocking record on big Ireland games, and that's sort of a subjective me, but like sort of big Six Nations games or World Cup games, and so I just said no. Like, listen, we can be in serious trouble there. But no, I mean, I had a lot of fun watching that. Yeah, it is the worst place in the world to lose, and it is the best place in the world to win. But back to this weekend. I think the bookies are saying Ireland are back here. 26 is a lot for this team, who still, I know 40 points last week, but like, you can't just look, you have to look at, say, 10 games, and Ireland cannot attack has been the general sort of trend of those the last year and a half or 2 years. And the team as well. The team is a little bit different to the English team, a little bit weaker, I think. Sheehan is out, which I would have said is a bigger deal maybe a year ago, but Ronan Keller, I think, has been really good form, and he's sort of sorted out his line-out throwing, which was his big weakness. I think it's a bit of an overreaction to Twickenham, to be honest. I think everything went right for us, and that everything went well for us. And the English, I think they seemed. It was a bad England performance as well, and we took advantage of it. But yeah, 26 points I like. So I'm on the plus. The one I actually prefer, and I remember this game last year, so I'm going to make the exact same point that I made in this fixture last year with the points line. I think it was maybe 51 or 52 last year, but for this to cover, for you to get 56 points, you're going to need Ireland to score 45 or more, or you're going to need Wales to score 20. I think both of those are very unlikely. For Ireland to score 45 or more, you're needing 7 tries with pretty good goal kicking, which Crowley has not managed most of the year, and even the 7 tries bit I think is unlikely. Or you're going to need Wales to score two converted tries and 2 penalties, or 3 tries, something like that. Both unlikely, I think. Actually, haven't checked the weather. Given it's 55, I assume it's probably meant to be okay.
I think it's meant to be okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I like the plus here, but I think the unders. I think just the 2 sort of match scripts that you would need for an overs to happen, I think are pretty unlikely, to be honest. So yeah, plus, but better on the unders.
Yeah, but also I think I would agree with you on that as well. It is a high cap. Nathan, have you got any thoughts on this one yet, or have you got any bets down on it?
No, I haven't, and it's the 2 numbers that I kind of generated are on either side of where the cap currently is. So right now I'm kind of hands off, and I'm also right there in terms of the points line, which is, it's always a little bit disappointing actually when you end up with exactly where the market is, because you can't. But yeah, I think the case that you're making for the under is pretty compelling. It doesn't feel, Ireland don't feel like they're going to score 40 points again. But it's because it was just a lot of that ever again. Yeah, like again, it did feel. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was an absolute like Gibson Park masterclass, like in that England game. You know, like he was just pulling every string and every. It just felt like in a way that every bounce of the ball kind of went to Ireland, not in an undeserving kind of way, like because England didn't fire a shot and didn't deserve to come close, but it didn't feel like necessarily a repeatable performance, if you know what I mean. So
it's not like an anomaly.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. So I think the cap makes sense if you believe that Ireland is back, baby, for sure. Like, but if you're a bit skeptical of one-off performances like I am, then yeah, like I wouldn't be believing that. But as I said, it's like just purely based on my own numbers, it's like I'm right there where the market is, and there's nothing that I'm seeing which is jumping out at me, which is a bit of a shame.
I know I should know this. Do Ireland still have a chance of winning this championship mathematically?
Mathematically, yeah, but
I was meant to look at the permutations before, but I think
I can tell you that they're 18-1.
Yeah.
Scotland 15. And
they
France.
Need France to lose out, and strange things happen.
France are like,
I'm just thinking motivation levels. If they think they believe they're still in it, will they keep the hammer down, or will they take a 20-point run and win and run? Which is what I'm feeling is going to happen. That they're not going to have an 80 minutes performance.
Yeah. The points difference is sorted anyway. France are like Ireland. I think Ireland, Scotland, and England's points difference is about the same. It's 9 or something, and France are up at 80 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. But I think as a general rule with points in Six Nations or any international game, really, when it's in the 50s like this, mid 50s, the question you have to ask yourself is, what's the reason for that? Because you need a really strong case to get to those high points in international rugby, because it just happens so infrequently. So to get there, you need to believe that this game's going to be a shootout. It's 2 attacking teams that are going to go all out to score. Like that's what you need for 55 to make sense, basically. Yeah. So and you could, some people will make that case. They'll say, yep, like these are 2 teams that'll go all out. Weather's good, etc. Yeah, I mean, but I think the case against Ireland as a strong attacking team, and Wales as well, of course, because I know I've watched every minute of Six Nations this year, and there have been times when Wales, you just felt like they could play for 10 hours and not score a try, because they seemed so like clueless on attack.
No, I'm got a feeling as well that Wales are going to struggle to score. I've got this kind of like 36-6 kind of scoreline in my head at the moment. I haven't really.
Just as well, I'm not sure. I can't remember actually if it was injury or not. But Sam Costello isn't playing for Wales. Listen, you're not picking between like the greats of the games here, but like I think he is better than Dan Edwards, who's come in. I assume I can't remember if he went off injured or not, to be honest. But yeah, I think that's another argument for the unders. That Dan Edwards, I think, is pretty average, to be honest.
All right, so I think all 3 of us feel like the unders is the way to go on that one. Let's move on to Scotland, France. This is a very interesting one. Some people are giving Scotland a chance. I sure as I'm not. This is exactly the point in any competition. They'll prove us that they're actually crap. Not crap. They've never been crap, but when it comes to time to shine and actually when something's on the line, they seem to disappear, right? And obviously France have been awesome. I don't know, they've even got out of third gear. So Nathan, what are you thinking? I'm finding 10 points high as well, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's another kind of quirk of the Six Nations that makes it kind of interesting, is that like you have all these, like, what it feels like, I'd love to see some stats on it, but like skewed results in the sense that like everybody wants to beat England and they play hard against England, and you have to decide how much you take away from the performances against England. You know, like is Scotland the team that beat England? Is Ireland the team that beat England? You know, and do they care much when they play in some of these other fixtures? And you know, I don't know the answer to that, but it's like if Scotland are the team that they were against England, then you know I would make this kind of 8 or 9, and I think 10 away from home would be high. I think it'll probably inch up. You know, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to get 11.5 somewhere close to kickoff, because you know people are kind of enthralled by France, quite rightly to some extent. So that's kind of where I'm at the cap. I think it's kind of interesting because I think we've touched on a few teams or players that can kind of produce a bit of magic. You know, guys that can pull a rabbit out of a hat, and BRE is obviously one of those guys. And you kind of think, sometimes you think it, you know, like how repeatable is it? You know, how often can Max Jorgensen save the Waratahs, for example? Like, and but with BRE, he just does it every week. So it's kind of like, it feels like maybe it is repeatable. Like, you know, that his magic is something that he just has on tap and can just turn on when he wants to. And that's always the thing that scares you, I guess, against France. You know, like if he wasn't playing, I almost feel like I'd take Scotland without thinking too much about it. But yeah, he's a scary prospect. So so if I could get a better number, I'd look to Scotland. That's kind of the side that my numbers indicate inside. That's just what I prefer. But I do like. It's going to be counterintuitive, but again, I think I quite like the under in this one as well. Like, I think there's going to be, you know, perception that it's just going to turn into some crazy shootout. But you know, I think you'll be able to get sort of 56.5. Probably before kickoff, and and it's again, I just think the perception is that this is just going to be super high scoring, and I don't necessarily think it's going to play out that way.
Yeah, I think it was in Paris. I might have a different view on the points, but I just remember Murrayfield. These games can get scrappy. Scotland can bring them into a dogfight, and I think because there is a lot on the line. Yeah, I think it is going to be probably a low score game, right? You're right. And if it was in Paris and maybe nothing left to play for, you would think that Scotland have got to keep up the score and that France will score, which they probably will. So,
yeah. I mean, it doesn't, like, all it really takes is Scotland to score first, and maybe it's a quiet first 10 to 20 minutes, and France might start to tighten up, you know, because the pressure is really on them, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I must be honest. I would have given so I haven't looked into it as much as I would have liked to by this time for the show, but I would have had +10 away from home, and I would have probably had 7 at home. So I am favouring Scotland a bit more on this cap, but I don't have a strong view yet.
There was a comment that just came up before that I think had some of the past closing lines, and they were all around 5 and 6 in this fixture. That one, that's pretty interesting. You know, like that what you're asking yourself here is this an exceptionally good France team compared to past years? Because I think it's not a bad Scotland team. I think it is the Scotland team.
I still think it's probably one of Scotland's best team ever, and France have beaten dismal Ireland and Wales and Italy. So I am questioning: are France as good as people are thinking? I am questioning that. They are certainly good. I mean, they certainly should win, but I do think 10 points is too high. Admiral, what do you thinking?
Yeah, I always enjoy how much things narrative sort of they flip so quickly in international rugby. Like, even take France the last couple of years. you go back to the start of the last Six Nations, and was it round 2? They dropped the ball 10 times and lost to England, and the world was falling down. And then they came to Dublin and hockeyed us, and they were the best thing ever. And then South Africa did a number on them in Paris, and then they're frauds and all this. And then it swaps so oft. Like France, they've been really good the first 3 games, but they're still the team that they have an idiot performance in them somewhere. I think if it's going to be anywhere, I think this is kind of likely to be it. The same with Scotland as well. I know Scotland's results have been all over the place. I think they've sort of been bang on with what Scotland do. Like to go to Rome against a strong scrum and the rain, and they shit the bed, and then the week afterwards they, when their backs are against the wall in Murrayfield against England, they rip them apart, and the week afterwards they can't string a pass together against a pretty average Welsh team. So I think the teams are sort of as good as I thought they were at the start of the tournament. Maybe France is a little bit better because of how good they were against us. But 10 is huge. 10 is huge, especially for a team who, like Nathan said, if they go 7-0 down, it will just be 3. They'll start taking 3 and 3 and 3. They won't be. They're not here to sort of. They're not here for a bonus point. That doesn't matter anymore. It's win, and then they have their Grand Slam match against England in Paris. So it's with not a huge amount of confidence, because if you sort of look at the two teams and you look at them on paper, there's a bit of a gulf there. But I think 10 is just. I often lean on sort of on historical results for the Six Nations. I think it's a little bit hard with this fixture because France was so crap for 10 years, and they're obviously not that team anymore. But yeah, I think they've covered a 10 twice since 2008 or something like that. Like it is not a place where they've had a huge amount of success, they win most of the time. But I mean, a success is in winning well. So the points line. I sort of go back to what Nathan said about the Ireland game. Two teams who want to come out and sort of gunslinging teams. These are these two teams, but the French are pretty happy to have an arm wrestle. That suits them too. So I would lean on the unders, but I wouldn't be hugely confident, because it could just turn into a madhouse. So I'm going to sort of lean on maybe a French performance coming out, and lean on sort of the history of this fixture and the history of Scotland and Murrayfield. It's unlikely, I think, they lose by more than 10. So a unit, we say, on Scotland plus here.
Yeah, I see Brent also brought up, Shane shared some nice historical data. I don't know if you guys have been seeing some of the tickers, but I think this match total ends up around 45. Yeah, that's what it came up. And I remember this because I think there was a shootout a few years ago. It was like both teams scored 30-odd points. It was a proper shootout. But since that, I don't have it in front of me. I should have been better prepared on that. But I think since then, it's been much tighter. Like you said, Nathan, it's like it screams points, but it doesn't often actually deliver. And it's, I guess, I think if there's still everything on the line here, this is where it does. You're right. This is where penalties will probably come into account, and probably the under again, leaning on the unders. I mean, I'm normally like this overs, but this is also an unders game for me if I'm playing points. Nathan, were you going to say?
I was just say, yeah, I can see those the head-to-head results. So last year it was 35-16, so that's 51 points. And the year before it was 36 points. Then there was a 57. Then there was a 46, 53.
I guess it's
and you can go back. So there wouldn't be many that would have gone over this number anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So it still feels at Murrayfield, everything up to play forward. I think that points line does feel too high. So that's just my thoughts. Anything else on this game, guys, before we move on to the mighty Italy?
No, all good.
All right. So obviously, is Italy winning next one, right? Who wants to go first? Nathan, you want to go?
So you talked in the beginning that it's been a tournament for pluses, and I've been on a lot of them, and I've been on Italy, I think, on their plus, I think every game, and that's been the place to be. But you know, there's a, you know, like a zigzag concept in betting, and like this is like zig zig zig, and then I'm going to zag. So I think this is the spot for England.
You reckon even with the changes?
I do, yeah. I think this is way short of where I make the number. I mean, from a narrative perspective, you know, you could talk about bounce back. There's, you know, obviously talk about England, Italy winning this game. You know, there's a lot of kind of narrative-based stories, I think, that you could lay over the top of this. But you know, the basics are, and I think Connor sort of touched on this, like when we were talking about one of the previous games, is that like we're coming into the tournament, we were like, you know, are England, you know, sitting at that top table of teams? Like, you know, are they sort of knocking on the door of being top two, or, you know, whatever you want to make it, contenders for this title? There's, you know, there's going to be a title decider against France, like all of this kind of talk, right? Like, and then after the Wales game, all that talk had carried on, and now we're 2 games gone, and it's like they're the worst team ever. Is the coach going to get sacked? Like, you know, it's just like it's all turned on 2 games, and admittedly, like, you know, they are 2 bad performances, but you also have to be careful to not read too much into recent results, and this is exactly what Connor was saying, is that like things just flip week to week. It's just that, like, you know, they're good, they're bad, they're good, they're bad, you know, say whatever you like, but Italy have been good, but England are still going to be mostly the team that they were coming into the tournament. Obviously you have to have downgraded them, but you know, I can downgrade them and still not get to, you know, like a 7.5. So I'm on England here.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, this Italy side, I mean, everyone who knows, if does know my history, I mean, I've never had any time for Italy or back them. But I mean, when they were plus 25s at where they are now, that was much more easier to back. But at 7 points against England, no way in hell Italy are getting my money either. Admiral, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to echo a lot of this. When we get close to sort of tournament time, Six Nations, I cap all the 15 games, and when you do that, you can obviously get money lines from those handicaps, and then so I do. I quite like the Six Nations outrights, and so you can, you know, it's not like, say, a Super Rugby URC season where there's whatever 16 or 18 rounds. I'm only sort of doing basic maths here, and when there's 5 rounds of 3 games, it's not that difficult to put into a calculator. So I originally, before the tournament now, I capped this at 17. Now three rounds have happened, and on the Sunday night after round 3, I had it at 13. Maybe 13 was wrong, but I don't think I was completely wrong, to be honest. England were playing 2 teams who, like with Scotland, I don't know if you heard, I'm not sure how much our media crosses over to your media down there, but after the first week against Italy, a lot of pundits, and not just pundits, sort of pundits who have been involved in the Scottish team quite recently, were sort of saying, if Scotland don't win 3 games here, Townsend is done. And a lot of them were saying it, and they were all saying the same thing. It was like they all seemed to hear the same story. And so they came to Murrayfield like they often do, and they were so up for it. And then the week later, like, Ireland obviously got hammered by France pretty bad against Italy, and everyone was going after them. They were getting a lot of stick here, and they just pulled out a performance that will be remembered for quite a while. That's not to say England were good; they were really bad. But this is still the team who, a number might be generous, but they beat the All Blacks at home, and I don't think the All Blacks are as bad as a lot of people say they are. They played quite well. They beat Australia quite well as well, and they came into the tournament. They're all the pomp squad, and they were going to win the World Cup and all that sort of stuff. They overreacted a little bit, as they sort of tend to do. But 7 is, come on, like this is still, Italy have been good, but like, this is a bit like against France. They hung in well, but France didn't feel at full whack that day in Dublin. I think people gave Italy too much credit, to be honest. They hammered us at the scrum, but I thought we were really, really poor that day. And they were sort of like, oh, Italy could have won that game. I think that's nonsense. I don't think they were ever. They were. I think they might have been ahead in the first half, but there was sort of talk that Italy deserved to win it. They weren't the better team that day. This feels kind of harsh on Italy, but like you're now judging Italy as a 7-point underdog against England. Like you have to sort of judge them as, as like almost the same level as Scotland. I do not understand how this went. This opened at 14. How are you getting from 14 to 7 here? I know the changes. Those changes had to be made. Like some of those English players in the back line, they were awful against Ireland, especially Arundel. I've had a bit of a thing with for a while. I think he's a spoofer. I don't think he's any business playing international rugby. I know there's a lot of changes, but I'm looking at them here. They're changes that should have been made, and I think there's a lot of good players come in and some good experience. Ben Spencer, who hasn't got many England caps, has played a lot of high level games for Bath and Saracens. He's a very good player, I think. Marcus Smith, I had my problems with him, but he's still a pretty solid player. Elliot Daly, he always gets a lot of stick, Elliot Daly, but I think he is like
he always does well for England.
Yeah, I mean, even with the Lions, like he ended up missing all the test games, but he was the Lions' best player in those sort of opening games against the Australian teams. And then in the pack, I don't think the Italian scrum will have as much dominance as it did against Italy, against Scotland and Ireland. Yeah, listen, I'm actually on quite a few outrights, which sort of involves England winning this game. So I've sort of already backed England this game, so I'm not going to get more involved. But I would take the minus here personally. I also think like England are 2-5 to win this game. That's saying essentially Italy will win this game one out of every 3, 2-5, and then I think Italy are 3.4, which gives them a 30% chance. So essentially a 1 in 3 chance of winning the game. Come on,
of a game they've never won. Yeah. I mean, I think just kind of agree with everything you've said. And the thing that stuck in my mind just now when you were talking about, where you capped it at 17, and I did see there was a comment there about it opening at 14. So if you think about that kind of number, and let's say that was the truth coming into the tournament, you would have to have downgraded England by 3 or 4 points for every one of those losses. So let's say we gave them nothing for Wales. You downgrade them by 3 to 4 points for the 2 losses they have, which is, and then you upgrade Italy by a couple of points for each of the games that they lost but covered. So okay, they'll give them some credit. Those are huge upgrades and downgrades, like in the context of how you power rate a team. Like a 4-point change in a team's rating would be like saying that we're just going to ignore everything that we've seen before, and we're just going to assume that they are the team. Yeah, it's wild. You should never do that. Like if you're going to be consistent about how you think about teams' long-term strength, basically.
Yeah, and also I think England were caught. I think they were a bit ahead of themselves, and they probably weren't prepared enough in the last games. I don't see an unprepared England caught off hold. I just don't see that happening. And when Italy face a top 6 team that are prepared, they don't hang with them. I'm going to be nicest part that I love the endeavour, and they're the best Italy side ever, but they don't live with the big boys when the big boys arrive. So
and none of this is saying that England is good. Like I'm not here telling you that. You don't have to believe that England are good to like them in this game. You just have to believe that that they are somewhere in between the team that was going to win the title potentially or win the World Cup, as kind of said, like coming into the tournament, versus the team that put up 2 horrible performances, and that's usually always the truth, is that the reality is somewhere in the middle.
Well, just like I think as we sort of touched, we're sort of repeating ourselves here, but like everyone's been very positive about Italy. I mean, we've been on pluses on Italy, and they've been very good, and so that's the reason to be positive about Italy. But they're on pluses that are 30 or 28.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like you have to start talking about. It's almost like say you're talking about the All Blacks are playing the Springboks, and you think one of the starting players is a bit weak. And then say you've got a URC game going on in the same week, and you say this guy who's on the bench for Cardiff is a great player. You're talking about 2 different, like you're judging 2 different games here. Like it's not to say that because you're speaking badly about I don't know, let's pick a player, Damien McKenzie, that he is, and you're speaking positively about this guy on the bench for Cardiff, that the guy on the bench for Cardiff is a better player than Damien McKenzie. That's the sort of we've been speaking positively about Italy because they're covered, they're not getting their ass beaten. Now you're talking about it like you're sort of pitting like two, maybe not equal, but sort of two similar teams against each other. These aren't two similar teams. Like England are much better than Italy. Like I can't really put it any other way than that. England are just a much better team than Italy. Like so listen, I do want Italy to win, but I think 7 is a bit ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think as Chris said earlier, that this cap kind of makes you it kind of implies that Italy and Scotland are relatively even teams, and I think outside of playing in the pouring rain in a one-off game in Rome, like I don't think anybody thinks that Italy are as good as Scotland.
No. That game was also Scotland were absolutely nowhere in that game as well. All right, guys. Well, thankfully we don't have 15 URC games to go through because that was good. Thank you, guys. That completes this weekend's fixture. It's a nice state of games. I think we've pointed out quite a few nice betting opportunities. So let's get to the best bets. Who wants to shoot up first? Nathan, do you want to go? What's your favorite?
I better go, because I do actually have to jump to a meeting. So, but I think obviously. The England minus is something that I'm keen on, and I do like the Blues to win. And as I said, I think you could find them at plus money if you shop around a little bit, and I think that would be a good price.
Yeah, nice. Thank you, Nathan. Really appreciate it. Good to see you again. Hopefully, see you soon as well.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, I better go. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no,
All right, cheers.
And Admiral, what's you think? To be honest, it's been a busy week for me. I haven't caught up in your group either, so I haven't seen what you've been posting. But give us a recap of where you get.
I'm not actually taking anything so far.
Really?
I've been a busy spell, to be honest. In Super Rugby, I'll go in order of my favorite. I think it's probably the Brumbies, then the Blues, and then the Waratahs, and sort of. Actually, sorry, I put Brumbies, Blues, unders in the Moana game. And then the Waratahs, and then for the Six Nations, personally, I'm not going to be on the England minus because I'm on a few outrights. I think I'm on 3, which all sort of need. So I'm not going to. I'm not going to sort of say it's my best bet when I'm actually not going to take it. I would say either the unders in Dublin, and then followed by the Welsh plus. They're my 2 favorite Six Nations.
Yeah, nice. I do like the overs in the Tars Canes. I do like the Canes a lot as well, but I like the overs. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout. I think Canes are going to come to play, and the Tars are going to have to try live with them or open up. And I do like England -7. I think England are going to win by over 10. I think they're going to do the business and win by over 10 points. Those are my 2 standout favorites. Possibly also the Wales unders I like as well. So those will be my favorite 3. But Admiral, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Your group's always adding value to getting the bets together. It's good to see you again, and I hope you have a good, successful betting weekend.
Thank you. You too, Chris. Nice to see you.
Yeah, man. Everyone in the chat, thanks for joining. Thanks for your contributions. Thanks, Shane. That was some valuable info there. I hope you guys have a good weekend, and we'll see you guys soon. Take it easy. Cheers.
Bye now.